Hey, everybody, it's your two favorite bald nerds. I'm Mike Myers, and this guy next to me is Richard Chapman. We're discussing all things IT. We concentrate things on an IT security bent, but getting jobs and technology in general. What else don't we talk about, Richard?
Probably politics or religion. I think that's kind of the standard, right?
Yeah, those are the standards, unfortunately. All right. So anyway, so you're gonna laugh at me, Richard. This is hilarious. I'm actually on BuzzFeed. Don't judge me, okay? Here, let me bring this up. It's an article I ran into today that I thought you might have some real interest in. And
Okay.
so this is one of their little staff writers, Megan Liscombe. Sorry, Megan, didn't mean to do that to you. But she's actually quoting, of all things, don't laugh. I'm serious, Richard. Don't laugh. A career coach who uses TikTok videos. So, all right. So it's not going to be kitty cats or whatever what you normally see on TikToks. But this is a lady named Erica Rivera. I've never heard of her before. And just for full disclosure here, folks, Richard and I are very interested in helping people tighten up resumes. It's such a big thing. So that resumes in my brain these days, Richard, and that's part of the reason this came up. Anyway, so what I wanted to do is, I know at CyberNow Labs, you guys deal with resumes all the time. And I just thought this was an interesting article because she talks about things not to put on a resume. So what I'm going to do, with your permission, Richard, is kind of jump through these real quick, and then you tell me what you think. Let me get my pretty face back up there because I know you like looking at me better than a article. But anyway, so I'm scrolling through here. First of all, it just cracks me up that using TikTok videos. Here's us using Zoom. What's the difference, right?
Just a different platform.
All right, so you ready? Because this is the other thing I run into. Like, don't you find a lot of your people writing their first resumes run out of space or trying to go to multiple pages? And
oh yeah, for sure. It's not uncommon to see somebody with a resume that's 3 and 4 pages. They try to pretty much include everything from the time they were 5 years old until now. So
yeah, and I run into the same thing with folks I'm helping. So that's why I thought this particular article is kind of clever. You ready? Number one.
Yeah, go for it.
I just want to hear your opinion on each of these, okay? Number one, your address. We don't need the full address, city and state only.
Yeah, that's actually recommended. I mean, to put your street address on there really isn't as necessary. As a matter of fact, it might be given too much information, especially in the security world that we're in. Yeah, it kind of is a little bit too much, I think. I think
that's hard for me to believe.
Yeah, I think if you put the city and the state, though, if you put the city and state, I think you're good.
All right.
And always put your LinkedIn address. That's always a good addition there as well too. You can kind of take up that street address with the LinkedIn address now.
Good point. All right. Number two, you ready? Objective statement. Gotta go. That was 1970. We're in 2022 now.
Yeah, I think the objective statement is kind of taken on a little bit of a different, I guess you could say, focus. It's now the professional summary, which is more like your personal brand statement. And when you're talking about that, a resume is a bullet list of all the different skills and knowledge that you have, experience that you have, right? But the personal brand statement is really kind of like, who am I? I think the average amount of time that somebody takes to review a resume is like 8 to 10 seconds. It's very, very short. So that has to be really, really small. Everybody knows your objective is to get a job. And I think that's why the objective component has changed to more of a professional summary.
Okay. Yeah, I run into challenges with this too, because a lot of people are looking for like 2 or 3 different, they're looking at sort of different jobs. I mean, related, obviously, but different. And so I've been telling people to try to, have a few different headers, more than one, depending on what they're looking for.
Well, your objective might not line up with what the job is or what the company's looking to do too. So you can actually, in a roundabout way, even put yourself in a knockout group just because of that as well.
Roger that. Here's another interesting one. You ready for this one? Let's talk about your work history. So I think this is pretty straightforward, though. Do not use your entire work history. Try to put just enough work history that's appropriate for that particular job you're going for.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, your most recent work experience and or the most relevant should be the major focal points. That being said, unless you're going for like a C-level executive kind of position, you really want to limit your resume to 1 or 2 pages at the most. So if you have 20 years, 25 years worth of work experience on there and it rolls over into 3, 4 pages, I think you need to do some cutting. You need to do some trimming. Everybody's super proud about what they do and what they've done, and that's a good thing. But again, 8 to 10 seconds. That's really how much time they're going to look at your resume. So those items at the top, your professional summary, your skills and tools that and then the experience that's most relevant to the job you're applying for, those need to be at the top, and those need to be able to be scanned relatively quickly. Again, 8 to 10 seconds.
I'm a big believer in 1 page, especially if you're looking for that first entry level job. It needs to be 1 page. So that's why I'm loving this gal. What was her name again? Hold on, I'm gonna say her name one more time. So the original TikTok person is called Erica Rivera, and it's just, if we're gonna respond, I owe her this, at Career Diva Coaching, COACKING. I wonder if that's a typo.
Interesting.
But it is a typo. Career Diva Coaching. There we go.
Coaching.
So anyway, let me see what else. She's a young person too. So what does somebody who's entry level? What do you do with work history entry level, especially with the career shift? What do you tell people to do with that?
Well, experience is definitely something you have to be able to put on a resume. If you put something on your resume, you have to be able to speak to your knowledge and experience either using that tool or doing that activity. So you have to find a way to do that. And a lot of people, I think in the old days, which, it is still relevant today too, like internships and work studies and things like that. There are definitely ways to be able to get some of that experience, but programs like ours, really give you that experience because you are actually functioning as an analyst. You're working in that capacity. So you can say, I monitored SIM tools. I worked with the EDR tools to monitor endpoints and make sure that the activities that were going on those devices were legitimate and not malicious.
Sure.
I was able to utilize those email security tools hands-on, actually looking at the links that came in and being able to describe the credential harvester that it led you to when you clicked on the link, things like that. That experience is 100%, in my opinion, paramount. Knowledge is great, but experience definitely helps out a tremendous amount. So
I agree. So on the next one, I'm actually going to quote the BuzzFeed article directly. Next week, action verbs. I helped. I was responsible for. Take some of these recommendations I'm sharing here and apply them to your resume. Instead of using passive language, Erica recommends using active verbs like streamlined, managed, implemented, improved, all that kind of stuff. And it's funny, as fast as I say this, listening to what you said just a moment ago, I monitored, so I'm just going to skip by that one. I think that's good. Folks, use action verbs when describing your work experience.
Yes. Well, your most recent experience, especially if it's relevant to the job, should be present. It should be present tense. You're doing that now. That is currently your activities. Whereas your previous work experience should be in past tense as well. So a little bit of a variance there. I agree with her statement though. Active verbs, I think, are a little bit more positive, and I think they put a little bit better spin on the resume as well too.
I agree. All right. So the last one is finally references available upon request. We don't need it. We will ask you if we need your references. And I'll admit that's what I'm bad about, is I always threw in the references available upon request. And now today, I don't know about you guys, but hiring on the total seminars of National Cyber Group, for us, references are critical, just absolutely critical. And I actually had a potential employee once whose reference, you ready, was in prison in Texas. And we had to set up, it was like, okay, you want to talk, here's a set up a certain time and a JPay, or I don't know. It was interesting. And yeah.
There's a collect call coming from Texas State University, will you accept the charges?
You get a Texas State University, Texas Walls Unit in Huntsville, Texas, or something like that. It's a crazy world. People up north just don't understand that Florida, Texas,
Yeah.
Southerner kind of thing.
Yeah. Right.
Anyway, I thought this was great. So, but anything else before we part? Are there other things you see people put on resumes that just chap you? I mean, these were great, but there's got to be more than this.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a bunch of non-important information. There are things that are important to the person because they earned them, they've achieved them, like past certifications in a past career that really don't pertain to this career you're in now. Again, it's probably not necessary. I mean, if you have a completely empty resume, I can see you trying to put that on there to fill it up. But if it really doesn't pertain to what you're attempting to get a job for, I highly recommend not to put it on there. Yeah, it's an achievement, but you can easily talk about those when you're speaking about your experience if you get the interview. It's not going to change the recruiter's mind, right?
Gotcha.
I've seen a lot of people try to put things like, U.S. citizen, work eligible. I personally don't like drawing attention to any thoughts about that at all. Just put your name, your relevant information, your experience, all that. You don't need to even attempt to draw attention to that, in my opinion. But I do see where that comes from. People get nervous about, well, they won't call me if they don't think I'm a U.S. citizen, or they don't think I have, a work visa, or whatever the case may be. So, I mean, I can see where it's coming from, but I still recommend, not to put that on there. Volunteer work is something I would recommend you put on there, as long as you're not taking away from pertinent experience. Volunteer work shows that you're community connected. It shows that you have a larger than you mentality, which I think is actually a really good item that a lot of companies actually really like, because culture is becoming more and more of a focal point, because it's becoming more and more competitive, right? You have to find ways to attract people to your company. So culture is important. I actually like the volunteerism section, but again, as long as it's not taken away from any pertinent experience that you need to relay to that, hiring manager or that recruiter that's looking at your resume. So,
gotcha. The one that drives me crazy, Richard, the one that drives me nuts is when people put in, I am good at Microsoft Word and Excel.
Yeah, well, I think the days of I know Microsoft Office and that being an important component on a resume, those are kind of gone, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's right up with I know how to answer a phone, or I can drive a car. It's like, we know this, people. All right, it's 2022. I want to
operated a facsimile machine.
Yeah, there you go. The only thing is, if on like Office apps, if they said something like, I'm highly expert at like pivot tables or something god awful.
Yeah.
There's big parts of Excel that scare me. Well, that was pretty cool, Rich. I got to tell you, because people work so hard about what to put in a resume. I think it was important that we talked about what you shouldn't put in a resume. So, folks, keep that in mind and take it from two bald nerds. When it comes to resume building, it's good to make sure you have the right stuff in. But here's some good information on some of the stuff you should take out. We'll see you next time. Say bye, Richard.
Nice to see everybody.
Bye.